for the final time this regular season from Lane Gymnasium. Lane Tech Girls Volleyball is on the air. Lane Tech looking to clinch an above 500 record on the regular season. They can do that tonight with a win over the Resurrection Bandits, a team that has struggled this year, just 2 wins on the season, but are hoping for what would be a big upset win against Lane Tech here on this Monday night. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alex Burstein, above the midcourt line here at Lane Gymnasium for it should be a fun one tonight between Lane Tech and Resurrection. We're concluding the regular season here at Lane Gymnasium just as we started it. Lane Tech's home opener started late because of a 3-set match between Lane Tech and DePaul, and now we're the home closer for Lane Tech, also starting about 45 minutes late because of a 3-set thriller. We'll get more into that in a couple of minutes between the JV teams, between Resurrection and Lane, but it has already been a fun night of volleyball here at Lane Tech, and we can expect another fun 3 sets, maybe 2 sets of volleyball here between Lane Tech and Resurrection coming up in just a couple of minutes. Lane Tech, as we mentioned, comes into tonight's matchup with a 15-13 record. They have 2 regular season games left before city playoffs start next week, so they can get a 16th win tonight and guarantee that they'll be over 500 on the year. Resurrection, on the other hand, they've had a rough season, 2-20 overall, 0-5 in conference play. Their regular season runs a little longer because no conference playoffs for them, but it's been a rough season for head coach Anthony Monk and this Resurrection team. He says players have persevered, though. They've been playing hard in practice. They've been playing hard in games. They've shown some signs of improvement these last couple of games, and they're hoping they can change up their luck here tonight and get a win against this Lane Tech champion squad, which has been up and down over these past couple of weeks. They've had some strong wins, but they've also had some losses that they really should have won. Losses to teams like Payton, to teams like Fenwick. Lane Tech has dropped in the city seeding all the way to number 4. It's just not been the ideal regular season for Lane Tech, and they definitely have some errors that they would like to clean up heading into the postseason, which, as we mentioned, starts next week. Game 1 of the postseason set to go on Monday here from Lane Gymnasium, as we will take you down to the court with just over 3 minutes to go until first serve here at Lane Gymnasium. Resurrection currently warming up on the court. Lane Tech already warmed up, and we will turn our camera over to the scoreboard so you can see how the time is counting down to first serve here at Lane Tech. The last game Lane Tech played here at Lane Gymnasium was their last game they've played overall. A rare Friday, Saturday, Sunday with no games for Lane Tech. They've had a quiet last week or so. Their last game was senior night, which came back on Thursday, where they had a big win over the Mustangs. That one ended up with a 25-12, 25-11 win over Northside. Last game for Resurrection came in rougher fashion, a 3-set loss to Trinity. They dropped the first set, they won the first set 27-25, but then they went on to lose the second set 25-23 and the third set 25-7. So as you hear those scores, you can hear it with us. They got progressively worse as the match went on, and that's kind of been a key for the Bandits all season long. They've started a lot of 3-set matches really strong. In 7 3-set matches this year, they've won the first set in 5 of them, but they have not won a single 3-set match this year. So they've blown 1-0 leads in 5 matches this year. That's out of 22 played, so that's almost a quarter of their games played. That's obviously something you don't want to see. I was talking to head coach Anthony Monk behind the game. Before the game, I asked him about that. He said if he knew the answer to why that was happening, the team would not be 2-20 right now, but they have contended in some matchups this year, and they will hope to be doing that again here tonight. We'll take you through the starting lineup for Lane Tech here on this Monday evening. Just one notable change for Lane Tech, and that is going to be the absence of their usual libero, Heidi Stauber, who is a scratch for tonight's game. However, a pretty good backup for Lane Tech in number 8, Sarah Thompson, second on the team in digs per set, second in digs, and second in reception. She has been really good playing without the libero role, and in the couple of games she's had to fill in, she's done a great job, so she is going to be in that role tonight. And good news for Lane Tech fans, back in the lineup is going to be Claire Anderson, who missed senior night with an injury. She will be back, the team's second leading killer on the year. She gets back into the action. So the full starting lineup here tonight, going from left to right in the front row. It'll be Olivia Sprinkle at outside hitter. In the middle, Kinsey Copenhaver, who's had a great last couple of games in the front row for Lane Tech. And then to her right is going to be number 5, Claire Anderson, who, as we mentioned, is making her return. Left Wednesday's game against Fenwick early. Did not play at all against Thursday against Northside. And then a couple of days of rest was good for her. She will be back into the starting lineup here tonight. In the back row for Lane Tech, going from left to right, it will be number 22, Olivia Crane, the team's leader in kills. She's been very impressive these last couple of games. And right next to her in the middle, probably the team's most impressive player as of recent, that's going to be Brooke Anderson, number 12. Had 5 kills and a block against Northside on Thursday. She's put together a lot of very impressive performances, including 24 kills in 3 games last week. And she's actually just snuck on to the top 3 in kills for the first time this season for Lane Tech. Number 3 on the team right now. So some very impressive play as of recent for Anderson, and she will start in the middle. And then going to the right side of her in the back row is going to be number 10, Catherine Hong, who I believe did not play at all on senior night. She's a junior, so she did not play at all against Northside. The team's leader in aces will step back into that number 1 server role here tonight, as both the teams on the court for what should be the starting lineups here. We did not get the starting lineups for Resurrection. We did get the key players, but I don't want to jump to any conclusions, so we will wait a second until we talk about these Resurrection Bandits players. I'm not sure if we're doing the national anthem or not. Looks like we are, so we'll turn to that and be back in a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball. And there you have it, national anthem here from Lane Gymnasium for what should be a fun one here tonight between Lane Tech and Resurrection, as they're going to meet the starting lineups here on the court. First for the visiting Bandits, and we will see if they go through and we can identify them at the same time as the announcer here. Looks like it's going to be number 5, Riley Martin, the libero. She's a senior, has been very impressive this season for Resurrection. Next to her, it'll be number 10, Grace Dorgan, one of 2 Dorgans on the team. The junior outside hitter gets the start. Then it will be the star for this team, number 11, Maggie Ward. She's the captain, one of the top players, the top player on this team. She gets the start. Number 17, McKenna Zorth, the senior setter. Top setter on this team gets a start. Number 14, Mia Meyer, a senior middle hitter. Very tall, very impressive. She gets the start. Number 15, Abby Nosalik gets the start as a sophomore. And rounding out the starting lineup will be number 17, Lindsay Cosmuck. So those will be your 7 starters here tonight for the visiting Bandits. For Lane Tech, we already took you through the starting lineup, so we will do that once again. In the front row for Lane Tech, it will be Olivia Sprinkle on the left side. In the middle, number 16, Kinsey Copenhaver. And on the right side, Claire Anderson. In the back row, going from left to right, number 22, Olivia Crane. In the middle, number 12, Brooke Anderson. And to her right, number 10, Catherine Hong, the libero tonight, stepping into that role for tonight's game will be number 8, Sarah Thompson. Quickly taking you through the serving order for Lane Tech here on this Monday night. It'll be Hong leading things off. Claire Anderson second behind her. Kinsey Copenhaver in the 3 role. Addison Stoner in the 4 spot. Number 5 is going to be Maddie Gavaldon. And closing out the service rotation for Lane Tech is going to be Sarah Thompson, the libero here tonight. We were not able to get the serving order here for the Bandits, but we will see that in a second. Not sure who won the toss here and who elected to serve here, but we will see that in a second here. It was interesting. The JV teams lined up on the opposite side as usual here for the starting lineups, as both teams are going to run and high-five all their teammates, and we'll be ready for some action here. Finally, sun has already set outside. Looks like we're going to be set for about a 6:51 first serve here from Lane Gymnasium. So 51 minutes later than expected, but either way, still exciting to get some volleyball action underway for the final time this regular season for Lane Tech. They will be back in action tomorrow against Lindblom to close out conference play and regular season play as a whole. That is on the road, though, so not here at Lane Gymnasium. And then next week, Lane Tech anticipating 3 home playoff games, as Sarah Thompson is going to check into the game for Brooke Anderson to start things off. So it'll be Hong, Thompson, Crane, Copenhaver, Sprinkle, and Claire Anderson, your 6 on the court to start things off for Lane Tech here on this Monday evening. Catherine Hong back to serve, and we'll be underway in just a second. Hong, the team's leader in aces. We'll see if she can get one here. Serve to the back row. Nice reception there from Riley Martin, the libero on this squad, but this one sent too far off the hands of Abby Nosalik. And the sophomore has an air on her first hit of the night, and Lane Tech will take an early 1-0 lead. Second hit too far. Rare service error there from Hong, and Resurrection will tie this one up early 1-1. We're coming off a thrilling 3-set match between the JV teams for this squad, as Hong plays the front set to Sprinkle, and she gets her first kill of the night. Unable to settle that one down was Martin. And Lane Tech goes back out in front. Lane Tech took the early lead in the JV game after a 25-13 first set win, as Anderson's first serve goes low but received here. Second set went in favor of the Bandits, 26-24, as Copenhaver plays one to the back row. That one stays in, and Lane Tech goes up 3-1. And then the final set there in the JV match, back and forth, and Lane Tech took it 25-22, I believe, if I wrote that down right. So Lane Tech gets the win there. We'll see if they can do that on the varsity level here. 3-1, the early lead for Lane Tech, but Crane sends this one into the net. And Resurrection will get back their service for the second time tonight, and it will be Martin back to serve. A good mix of freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors on this Resurrection squad, who, as we mentioned, just 2 wins on the year. Copenhaver gets a rare shot blocked in the front row, mainly off the hands of Mia Meyer there, the senior middle hitter, and we're all tied up at 3 here in the first set. Resurrection looking to get their first win since September 10th, as Anderson has to bump this one over on the 3rd hit. Had an early season win, then had one a couple weeks later, but have been quiet in the win column, as just slightly tapping that over is Meyer once again, and she has a strong start to the night. 2 points for her, and a 4-3 early lead for the Bandits. Anderson gets the reception on the dig. Sprinkle has to go behind the back on the bump to keep it alive. The interesting thing about this Resurrection team is, even though they have that rough 2-20 record, they've played a lot of teams pretty hard. They've had a decent strength of schedule to this year, and they've sent 7 matches to 3 sets, as Hong plays a set to Crane, can't get the kill down. Head coach Anthony Monk said, "This might be the best 2-20 team you have ever seen," and Resurrection showing that early on, as they're going to take a 2-point lead here, 5-3. Not the start that you want if you are the Lane Tech coaching staff. We'll see how long it takes before they decide to call a possible timeout as Thompson gets the reception here. Copenhaver to the back row, and a missed kill attempt there from Lane Tech. This one flies a little too far. We have seen Resurrection playing slightly conservative there in the back row, leaving some open row. Lane Tech was able to take advantage of that once, but unable to do that here for a second time as Thompson on the reception again. A nice service run here for Martin, and it will continue as the Bandits are going to take a 7-3 lead, and that is where Lane Tech is going to draw the line and call a timeout as head coach Norman Kwong calls Lane Tech's first timeout of the day. So Lane Tech looks strong off the first couple of points, but since then it has been all Bandits. They take a 4-point lead early on in this one. It's been a lot of Lane Tech errors, and that has been the story of the last couple of weeks for Lane Tech. Just losses to teams that they should have beaten. And even when they have been beating teams just by margins that Lane Tech feels like they should have beaten by a lot bigger. So that has been troubles here for Lane Tech late in this season. It's not what you want to see as a team approaches postseason play. So they're going to see if they can turn that around here in the rest of this first set, moving forward into sets 2 and possibly 3. As we mentioned, this is a Resurrection team that has played pretty well in the first set. Just 2 wins on the year, but 7 first set wins. So they've won 5 first sets in 3-set matches. Crane on the reception here. She'll try to poke that one over, and unsuccessfully trying to poke it back will be number 13, it looks like, McKenna Zork. She'll check out of the game for number 14, Mia Meyer, as Copenhaver was rushing for the serve there. Not even fully back into the game was Meyer, and she ends up getting the kill. So Lane Tech goes with the quick offense there. Doesn't catch Resurrection off guard at all, though. And the Bandits will get their serve back up 4. So an unfortunate turn of events there for Lane Tech. Lane Tech's coming off of a week last week where they went 1-2. Hoping to go 2-0 this week, heading into the Public League playoffs, which start next Monday. Thompson on the reception. Brooke Anderson from the front row. She's into the game for the first time here tonight on the night's 13th point. And finishing the point there is going to be number 4, Chloe Warnke from the back row, as she heads back to serve for the second time here, in Resurrection rolling here early on, the 5-point lead. Crane goes with the soft touch again, and Warnke there to save it. This one played deep to the back row. Interesting touch there from Martin. She got some good distance on it despite what looked like kind of a soft touch, and the Bandits will be the first team to hit double digits in the set here tonight as they take a 10-4 lead. Not a super big crowd on hand for this late matchup, and another point off the front row off the hands of number 14, Mia Meyer. The two-sport athlete plays basketball too. She's showing that height here tonight, and that's going to be a problem for Lane Tech if they cannot get points off that front row here, as Sprinkle tries to punch it over, and unsuccessful on the block there was both Meyer and number 10, Grace Dorgan. And Lane Tech finally gets their service back. And looks like we're going to have an early substitution here, as number 7, Maggie O'Brien, is going to serve in place of, I believe, Addison Stoner here. We did not have O'Brien playing early in this one, but they put her in. Her first set of the night goes to Wild, and Wild sends this one too far. So Lane Tech, it's like early on here, making some substitutions as they try to climb their way back from this early deficit. It'll be number 6, Sam Washkovich, the junior outside hitter, back to serve. 12-5, the early lead for the Bandits. This one goes straight into the net, though, so Lane Tech finally catches a break there, cutting this lead in half as Maddie Gavelden checks into the game to serve. So, yeah, Lane Tech just bypasses Stoner there and puts O'Brien in for the serve again. This one off the tape, but still sailing a little too far to the inside, and Resurrection will go up by 7 here. Talking with head coach Anthony Monk for this Resurrection team before the game, he said, you never know when a miracle could happen. Lane Tech, obviously the team better on paper, but early on outplaying the champions by a large spot is going to be the Bandits, as Sarah Thompson back to serve for the first time tonight. A nice reception there by Washkovich, and good blocking attempt, but goes a little too far to the right there from Campbell Wild and Kinsey Copenhaver, who've been two of the top blockers on the year, but they can't do anything off that strong hit from Grace Dorgan, who's transitioned to an outside hitter role these last couple of weeks for Resurrection from being an opposite, as Anderson tries to lay down the kill, can't get it, but taps it over on the second attempt and gets Lane Tech back their reception. Checking into the game will be Sprinkle and Hong. They come in for Wild and O'Brien. So after that really after those couple of very long serving rotations for Resurrection, Lane Tech's done a good job of keeping this at just a 6 or 7 point lead. They've not made any big runs here yet, as Anderson sends this one to the back line, and that one looked from our angle like it hit the line by a decent margin. However, both of the referees will disagree here, and a lucky break there for the Bandits, as checking back into the game is going to be Grace Dorgan. She's had an impressive game here. She has a short time on the bench. As an excellent serve there sends Thompson stumbling back. However, Claire Anderson's there to bump it over. 16-8 the score here early from Lane Gymnasium. Laying down the kill there, number 10, Grace Dorgan. Seems like whenever a player checks into the game for Resurrection, they are almost completely ready to go and score a point almost immediately. Some really good substitutions from this coaching staff for Resurrection early on. Martin serves it. A hit from the back row. This one sails a little too far from Maggie Ward. Hasn't been a super big night so far from Ward, who is the star player, has been the most consistent player all year long for Resurrection. But they found other contributors here early on. Back set. Block in the front row. This one stays in, though, off the hands of Copenhaver and Crane. Nice effort there from the two front row players. And Lane Tech finally gets to that double-digit mark, down by 7 here, 17-10 in set number 1. Nice dig there by Martin to keep it from being an ace from Anderson. And they're going to call a net violation here on the Bandits. So Lane Tech finally making a little bit of a run. They cut it to 6. We'll see if they can make it 5 here. Anderson on the serve. Back set, front row, Thompson to Hong. Now Crane tries to go with the opposite kill. A nice blocking attempt there from the front row, but took an awkward angle back. And Lane Tech cuts it to a 5-point game here, and the Bandits are going to call timeout. So Lane Tech finally gains some momentum in this one. They still trail by 5, 17-12 in set number 1. Last week in their 2-3 set games, Lane Tech won the first set against Payton. They lost the first set against Fenwick. So they had mixed results in their 2 close matches last week. Their game against Northside, pretty much a blowout in both of the sets. So when we're comparing games tonight, we will try to compare to those Fenwick and Payton games. And I think Fenwick is a game you can compare to this one pretty well. Fenwick had 7 wins, so it was a little bit more winning than this Resurrection squad, but a team that had been underperforming on the year but came here to Lane Gymnasium. A lot of hope on their squad as Anderson sends this one off the tape took Lane Tech to 3 sets, took the win as an excellent kill there off the hands of Grace Dorgan ends this little Lane Tech run. And the Bandits move it to a 6-point lead here. And they'll have Martin back to serve, who had the first really long service rotation. Sees an opening in the front row, and a diving Sarah Thompson unable to save it. And just some excellent awareness there from the libero for this Resurrection squad to put Resurrection up 7. She'll send this one for more normal serve. Crane from the outside, and a booming block there in the front row off the hands of number 14, Mia Meyer. Meyer having herself quite the night here. She puts the Bandits up 8 here in set number 1, 20-12. Another soft serve off the hands of Martin. Copenhaver tries to go cross court, and this one flies too far to the outside. So just 4 points away here from a first set victory for Resurrection. Has a very interesting serve style. Kind of reminds you of like a character from a video game, as this one's going to finally get Lane Tech back on the scoreboard off the hands of Ward. And now Copenhaver will go back to serve. This game is kind of important for Lane Tech in the terms of this is going to be the second to last game on their schedule that coaches are going to see when they try to seed Lane Tech in the first state playoffs, which is coming up on Wednesday. Wednesday season schedules are due. Thursday seeding is due. So if Lane Tech has a loss in this one, this is not going to be looking great for them as teams try to seed them, as Maggie O'Brien will check into the game alongside Campbell Wild. O'Brien staying in the service rotation. Hasn't had that much playing time this year, but the junior now back to serve for the second time. Sends this one to the back row. 22-14, 3 points away from the first set upset win for Resurrection. Crane forced to bump it over. We saw some really long points in the JV game and kind of a delayed hit there. Meyer timed that one very well. She had me tricked, she had the Lane Tech front row tricked. And Resurrection now within 2 here, as they'll send Sam Waskevich into the game, the junior outside hitter. Serving from the opposite side she did before, I believe. Sends this one way back. Thompson decides to receive it, and Crane forced to just punch it over, and Meyer trying to play hero again, punches that with one hand, however it goes a little too far. Definitely not the start you would have expected here for Lane Tech on their home court against a 2-win Resurrection squad, as Gavaldin's first serve here of this rotation travels too far, and now trying to close it out is going to be Mia Meyer. Not sure if there's a player more fitting to try to close this one out. Sends this one received by Gavaldin. Anderson punches this one over. Meyer saves it from the back row, and they're going to force Waskevich there to bump it over, and a miscommunication there from Maggie O'Brien. Brooke Anderson was coming for this play that Lane Tech has been doing the last couple of games, where they move her from the center to the outside. Instead, they have O'Brien send it to the middle, no one there, and an upset first set victory here for Resurrection over Lane Tech. They win this one 25-15. We'll see if Lane Tech can get it going here in set number 2, or if this is going to be an upset win for win number 3 of the season for Resurrection. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. Well, quite interesting of a first set here from Lane Gymnasium. A 2-win Resurrection squad goes 25-15 in their first set win against a 15-win Lane Tech squad that has seen some troubles as of recent and continued their struggles there in that 10-point first set loss to this Bandit squad, as both teams are going to break their huddle with about a minute left to go, over a minute left to go in the first set intermission. We'll see if they let them start early or not. It'll be the Bandits serving to receive, and Resurrection did play very well off their serve in that first set, so definitely an advantage for Resurrection to start off this second set with the ball. It's kind of been a story we've seen all season for Lane Tech. They just have had struggles on their home court. They have winning records in neutral games. They have winning records in away games. The only place they have a losing record this year, at home, where you'd expect them to have the home court advantage. Though tonight, Resurrection with a decent showing from some parents. They probably pretty equal, 50-50 in the number of fans at this game right now. But even with that, it's the court you're familiar with, and Lane Tech has just a 3-4 record at home this year entering tonight, as it will be number 13, McKenna Zork, as the first server of this second set for Resurrection. Anderson there on the reception. See who can get the early momentum. Soft tip over the front two. Blockers there from number 11, Maggie Ward. And that's just the start you want if you're the Bandits. Obviously, the biggest mystery for them was if they could continue that momentum they had in the first set into the second set. I know we've mentioned this twice already, but for those of you just joining us, 7 3-set matches this year for Resurrection. They haven't won any of them, but 5 of them they won the first set. So first set can be deceiving from this Bandit squad, as this one blocked in the front. First lead since very, very early in the first set, and they go up 2-1 here. Catherine Hong with her serving. It's going to be an awkward transfer, but finally gain over is Abby Nosala. Attack with some powerful hits here from the front row. Anderson receives it. Crane has to bump it over, an awkward bump there. Almost looked like an error, but she gets it over the net. And in the front row, number 17, Lindsay Kozma. Two-sport athlete, also plays lacrosse and gets this one down to tie it up in set number 2, 2-2. JV match, it was Lane Tech who won the first set, Resurrection who won the second. Lane hoping to flip that script here in the varsity match as the second serve goes into net. That's the second time that's happened, where the first serve is clean for the Resurrection server. Second one goes into the net, as this one softly played, almost caught Lane Tech off guard though, and Claire Anderson goes straight down the line to put Lane Tech in front by 2 here for the 2. So finally seeing a little bit of momentum. First lead by more than a point tonight for Lane Tech comes here early in set number 2. As a booming shot there comes off the hands of Ward. Lane Tech lucky to be able to keep that one alive. Another nice skill attempt, this one from the back row. And Resurrection just hammering these in, and the shot from Claire Anderson goes a little too far. And Bandits will get back into one. Check into the game, number 14, Mia Meyer, who had a really big impact in that last set from the middle of the court, playing in that front row. We'll see if she can do it again. And the top server in that last set for either team, number 5, Riley Martin, is going to head back to serve here. She plays the first one soft. Caught Lane Tech off guard there in the first set with a serve like that. Can't do it here, as quick two-handed bump over. Doesn't catch Lane Tech off guard again. Resurrection changing up the way they try to score here. punched it over twice here just on this point, and Claire Anderson with a nice shot to the left-hand side gets deflected out of bounds and puts Lane Tech back on top by 2. Copenhagen serving for the 3rd time here tonight. An excellent reception there from the ground by number 10, Grace Dorgan. She had to get on her knees for that. And Brooke Anderson with a weird hit to Dorgan, who's unable to play it. And Lane Tech finally up by 3 here. They double the score of the Bandits. Copenhagen has been a pretty good server this year for Lane Tech. I believe 2nd on the team in aces, as a net violation there from Lane Tech. Not sure if it was Sprinkle or Anderson. They're going to give it to Sprinkle. Touches the net, and what would have been a Lane Tech point there ends up going to the Bandits. It's been errors like that all day for Lane Tech. A lot of hitting errors. And just penalties like that racking up in this early set 2 as Anderson plays this one down the line. You don't see Anderson do that always. Lane Tech has been a team that, for a lot of this season, has been big on opposite side of the court kills, but Anderson has gone down the line twice here in set number 2 and gotten her kills in with both of them, as Addison Stoner will serve for the first time tonight off the tape. Not sure if that's what she meant to do, but it will work either way, as Lane Tech goes up by 4 here, 8-4. See if she can do it again. This one goes just a little bit higher, just grazes the top of the net. Seeing an opening there was Dorgan. However, she's unable to find the ground. Meyer, once again, she gets her first point here in set number 2 to keep Resurrection within 3. It's been interesting. This has been a game of runs, so you'd expect that to go with a lot of timeouts on both sides of the court, but we really have not seen that. Just one timeout from both of the coaches here. As an ace, there was 3 Lane Tech players around that, and none of them can get to number 6. Sam Wachkovich serve. That was Anderson, Thompson, and Stoner. They all kind of stepped aside from the ball. They thought it was heading out, but it was in by a decent margin, as this one sails into the net to keep Lane Tech up by 3 here. Olivia Crane will check into the game for Maddie Gavelden. Now Claire Anderson will go back to work. Lane Tech is all about locked up the 4 seed in the city playoffs. This will not have an effect on it, as it's a non-conference game, as Lane Tech gets another point here. Diving out of nowhere there was Martin, but she's unable to punch it over. And Lane Tech, when they got to 10 points in set number 2, was down 17-10. Here in set number 1, they reached the 10-point mark, up by 4, as the second serve by Anderson goes into the net. And that's been another trouble here for Lane Tech here against Resurrection. They just have not been able to string along a lot of long service rotations, not been able to make a lot of runs. As Meyer sends this one a booming serve, Anderson just has to touch it over but can't find a point. Cross court trying for the kill there was number 51, Ella Anderson, who I think is in the game for the first time here tonight for the Bandits, but her shot goes a little too far. You've heard a lot of names called here for Resurrection. They're a team that has a lot of different contributors, and their head coach, Anthony Monk, said it's kind of been a curse and a blessing. Players show up some nights, some don't. You love to see players having good nights, but that lack of consistency has been what has led to this 2-20 record for the Bandits. Lane Tech doing a much better job blocking here in set number 2, as Crane punches this one over, and Lane Tech goes up by 6 here, and calling timeout is going to be head coach Anthony Monk, as he'll want to talk things over with his team. So still a doable comeback for Resurrection, but after they were so strong to start off that set number 1, and that's what led them to the 10-point set number 1 win. They find themselves trailing early in this one, 13-7. We'll see if they can make any type of comeback from that one. Lane Tech obviously hoping they can keep this momentum up, roll to a set number 2 win, and that translates into a possible 3-set victory for them. Tomorrow night, as we mentioned, they'll be taking on Lindblom. Lane Tech currently sitting at 4th in the conference with a 5-3 record. And they've actually clinched that spot because Lindblom 3-5 right now. The best they could be is 4-5, as front row sending it into the net is number 17, Lindsay Kozma. Resurrection in the Weirder Girls Catholic Conference, which I know we talked about on the broadcast last week against Fenwick. The way Max Preps has it set up, 15 teams, they've all played a different number of conference matches, and just leads to some very weird-looking standings as this one goes a little too far off the hands of the star Maggie Ward, and Lane Tech breaking this set open 15-7 now. They find themselves 10 points away from a set number 2 win. This one played high off the ceiling, and everything coming crashing down pretty quickly here for the Bandits, who had so much momentum. And we'll see number 9, Nora McGovern, check into the game. I think first time here tonight for the senior setter. Thompson with a nice run here, tried to use a move that the Bandits used against her. They're going to call a double against Resurrection there with that soft touch serve, and I'm sure Resurrection is going to adjust to that here because they left the entire center of the court open there on the last serve. Thompson is one of the most interesting things about her as a player. She serves from like directly in the middle, and it's been working here as she gets another point, and Lane Tech goes up by 11 here in set number 2. Checking into the game, number 12, Ellie Dorgan. Resurrection, I think, may have had every single player now come into the game. 2 Dorgans on this team. They are sisters, a year apart, as unable to finish there in the front row is number 17, Lindsay Kozmuck, and Lane Tech on quite the run here. At least a 9-0 run, I want to say, as maybe a little bit less than that, but they've scored quite a few points in a row here to take a 19-7 lead over Resurrection, and their head coach is going to call another timeout, their second in just about as many minutes. So they'll take a minute to break, and that is, I think, the quickest we've seen Lane Tech break a huddle all season long. They were in and out of the huddle with head coach Norman Kwong in about 17 seconds. Not much you want to change if you're Lane Tech right now. Whatever you're doing is working. A 19-7 lead right now for the champions in set number 2. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium. Fun night for some IHSA girls volleyball action. Final regular season game of the year from Lane Gymnasium for Lane Tech before they start city playoffs next Monday. As Thompson again, smoking serve is able to be returned, and keeping it alive is Maggie Ward. So if you have one player who's going to help Resurrection come back into this one, you have to assume it's number 11, Maggie Ward. She's the only player on this team that plays all 6 rotations, and Coach Monk was just raving about her before this broadcast and the skill she has brought to this team, as Copenhagen in the front row, robbed of a point there by Martin. Thompson sends it to Crane. Crane with a soft touch. And once again able to save it is Nasaluk. However, putting it back into net is Ward there, and Lane Tech will get to the 20-point mark. So fast-paced set number 2 here. 28 points played pretty quickly, and Lane Tech has won 20 of them as they try to get the second set victory. Another service error here from Catherine Hong. She's definitely been more quiet from that serving line these last couple of games. She was very hot serving from the start of the year, but has been more quiet as of recent. As this one too far off the hands of Ward. One of the top servers on both the teams making some errors here, and Lane Tech will get back their service quickly. Olivia Crane serving for the first time here tonight. Lane Tech So going back and forth with how they've organized this serving here today. They had Maggie O'Brien come in surprisingly. Olivia Crane here serves as a bit of a surprise. As Sprinkle to the front row, gets it over the double block there of Meyer and Dorgan. And Lane Tech now 3 points away from a set 2 victory, which would set up a decisive set number 3 in a couple of minutes. Crane from the middle, unusual position for her, playing from that back row. This one sent too far there off the hands of Dorgan. And Lane Tech now within 2 of a set 2 victory. So it's really been for Lane Tech just limiting the airs these last couple of minutes. They haven't been too complicated with their shots. They've just been getting them to the other side and waiting for the Bandits to be the ones making the airs as Crane bumps this one softly over. Meyer, who's been much more quiet here in the second set, and a miscommunication there. Chasing after it at the end was Abby Nosalik, and no success for her as Lane Tech moves to their first set point of the night, 24-10 here. They'll have about 14 chances at it. An excellent save there from Copenhaver, but no one there to put it back over. And Resurrection will get their serve back, hoping for a last-minute set 2 comeback. Chucking into the game will be number 51, Ella Anderson, and number 9, Nora McGovern. McGovern will serve. It's interesting that this Resurrection coaching staff has decided to play with this more conservative, more subs into the game approach, and kept with that approach despite the much poorer results here in set number 2, as an ace there from McGovern cuts the lead to 12 here for Lane Tech, who are now going to be on match point number 3. They still have about 12 to burn off, but obviously would hope to avoid a scenario where they have to go to 24-23 or 24-24. Sprinkle sends this one way too far, and that's the one area Lane Tech really has not found their footing at yet. Their first 2 kill attempts went excellent, but for these last couple of minutes, they just have had a lot of trouble closing out the kills, as Claire Anderson softly taps this one over. Unable to save it is McGovern, and Lane Tech, after falling by 10 points in set number 1, has a much better set number 2. They win it 25-13. We will head to the decisive set number 3 in just a couple of minutes. Lane Tech and Resurrection all knotted up at 1. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Girls Volleyball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. To a decisive set number 3, we head here at Lane Gymnasium, all tied up at 1 here between Lane Tech and Resurrection on some late Monday night volleyball action, 7:30 local time in Roscoe Village. Lane Tech hoping for another quick set like they had there in set number 2 as they try to lay down the dagger on this Resurrection team. Resurrection, meanwhile, hoping they can revert to how they looked in set number 1, where they had a 25-15 win. They started the clock for the intermission break a little late here, so it's going to be an extra long break between sets number 2 and sets number 3 here at Lane Gymnasium. It's been a busy day here for Lane Tech Athletics. Obviously, Lane Tech Girls Volleyball closing out the home part of their regular season schedule right next door at Lane Stadium. Lane Tech was taking on Matter in the first round of the city playoffs, and in some state playoff action, both the girls and the boys team had golfers competing in the IHSA sectionals. I know the girls had 2, neither of them able to advance, but good performances from both of them to conclude the girls golf season. I have not seen any results yet from the boys golf team. They had, as I mentioned, 5 golfers, I believe, competing in these sectionals, so a much better chance numerically for them to send at least one of them to sectionals. And looks like the results just came in, so we can check here quickly. Looks like none of them able to advance, but once again, good performances from all 5 of the Lane Tech golfers, who looks like all were situated within 5 strokes of each other. So they all played pretty similar days and just a couple of strokes off from advancing as individuals. So both the golf teams will close out their seasons here today. They are the 2nd and 3rd team to finish off the fall season here at Lane Tech. Boys 16-inch softball had a city championship win this past weekend. No state playoffs for them, so they will conclude their season with that. Lane Tech concluding their regular season here at home for girls volleyball, and set number 3 gets underway here as first attempt of the set for a kill goes way too far off the arms there of number 13, McKenna Zork. And Lane Tech, I think for the first time here tonight, starting off a set with the lead. But quickly in response, number 15, Abby Nosala, who lays down the hammer and ties this one up at 1. This has been a very, well, actually, I'll take that back. It's been back and forth in the terms of, obviously, it was all one team in one set, all one team in the other, but there really has not been much back and forth play. 1 run for one team, 1 run for the other, as a miscommunication there from Olivia Sprinkle, and Catherine Hong in the front row puts the Bandits up 2-1. But yeah, we have not seen many back and forth points between these two squads, because one team's just had the total momentum in both of these sets. Just trying to save it there is Martin, and Bandits will be able to put it over. Copenhagen trying for the kill attempt. An excellent dig there from Ward, who keeps this point alive. They'll send Sprinkle from the center. She punches this one over, and they'll call a net violation on Sprinkle. That is her 2nd of the night. She had one earlier on a blocking attempt. This time on the kill attempt, she hits the net, and that's 2 points Lane Tech could have had that have ended up going easily to Resurrection. An awkward reception there from Thompson, but luckily Catherine Hong able to go all the way over to the bench to keep it alive. Claire Anderson has to dance around, but is able to keep it alive for Lane Tech. And a block in the front row there from Kinsey Copenhaver, and Olivia Crame keeps this at a 1-point game here, 3-2 between Lane Tech and Resurrection. 8th 3-set match of the year for the Bandits. They're 0-7 in their previous 7, as an excellent kill attempt keeps the Bandits up by 2. For Lane Tech, they have 1 3-set win on the year against Niles North. I'm trying to count this quickly as Martin on the serve. Anderson, a big block there in the front. They'll send Copenhagen, and this is the Lane Tech we have seen all season long, finding the openings on the court for the kills, and they avoid hitting errors, which really racked up in the first set here to start off set number 3 as they get within 1 4-3. Copenhagen with an ace off the hands of number 12, Grace Dorgan, just an awkward reception error. And Lane Tech ties this one up 4-4. We'll see if Copenhagen can do it again. Won't get the ace, but still not great receptions here off of either of those. And they're going to give the point there off of the... Not sure what the call was there. Either way, we'll go to Resurrection, and looked like for a second there, Lane Tech was going to be able to take the lead possibly there for the first time in a while. But instead, it will go to the Bandits. Nora McGovern back to serve here. She's had a nice day serving, had an ace in the last set. Gavelin with a reception in the back row. Claire Anderson trying to lay down the shot, and this one goes, oh, they're going to give the points to Resurrection. Looked like from our angle that one came way too inside. I think initially Lane Tech thought they had that point as well, but the line judge says it goes to the Bandits, who are now back out in front by 10 here. Anderson on the reception. Opposite side sprinkle, and Brooke Anderson just does a soft touch. She has been somewhat quiet there in the front row. Hasn't been in for a lot of the game, but gets the point here as Campbell Wild and Addison Stoner will check into the game. It's been interesting when we've seen Resurrection serving here tonight. It's been a plethora of Lane Tech players, more than usual, who have been on the receptions. A weird back set there from McGovern, but able to keep it alive until Claire Anderson lays down the kill. The referee was looking over there, thought they were going to make a different call there, but they don't, and they will tie it up 6-6 here in set number 3. Stoner back to serve. Second set she has served in. Did not play set number 1. We do not know the reason why, but she comes in set number 2. And now she gets this set, and Brooke Anderson puts Lane Tech back in the lead 7-6. Should be a fun one here. Lane Tech looking to be 18 points away from a set 3 comeback victory. Dorgan almost had to do the splits to keep that one alive, and a block there in the front row from Wild and Anderson. That was one of the biggest struggles for Lane Tech in set number 1. They've been very strong with their front row blocks this year, especially at home, as this one sails off the hands of Stoner too far. So Resurrection staying in this one down by 1. They'll send their junior outside hitter, Sam Watkovich, back to serve. A lot of two-sport athletes. I believe Washkowitz also a softball player. As getting up there over the net, Maggie Ward showing off some athleticism. Don't have her height, but not the tallest player on the court right now. Maybe the second shortest, but she jumps up over the net, gets the point, but unable to capitalize it there as Resurrection, as their very next serve goes into the net. And Lane Tech goes back up by 1, 9-8, and Claire Anderson will try to keep that going. Lane Tech looking to get to double digits first, and they'll avoid it at least for now as Meyer back into the game gets the point. Resurrection has been playing best here today when Meyer has been playing very well, as she'll head back to serve here. Thompson on the reception, back serve, Brooke Anderson, and excellent save there by McGovern. Meyer sends this one to Anderson, and the point will be reset. This one cross-court attempt by Wild goes too far, so Resurrection will be the first 14-10 points here in set number 3. In both sets number 1 and set number 2, the team who hit double digits first ended with the win. We'll see if that pattern holds true here as Anderson unable to get as much power as she wanted on that initial hit. And the Bandits go up 11-9. Once again, Meyer from the back row. Crane plays it down the line. That was a unusual serve from Meyer, but it ends up working as they'll have Ward slowly punch it over. Weil on the opposite end, but Washkovich there to keep it alive. Anderson again blocking the front row. They send it to an open space, but Thompson saves it. Crane lays down the hammer. After back and forth play at the net from both of the teams, Olivia Crane has had enough. She sends a booming shot to the middle of the court and puts the Bandits up 11-10 here as Thompson back to serve now. Bottom of the serve order for Lane Tech. Crane tries to push this one over, but a nice block in the front row there by number 17, Lindsay Kosma. And we'll have a couple of subs into the game as we see both Zork and number 15, Abby Moselek, come in. 12-10 lead for the Bandits over Lane Tech. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Gymnasium. Final set of play between these two teams. Anderson diving at it. A nice play there. Crane tries to punch this one over. Can't finish it though. Wild playing more inside than usual. Can't finish the points. No great kill attempts. Stoner with an excellent dig to keep this point alive, and that's going to force Anderson to just bump it over softly. Back set trying to finish it. Anderson once again saves it. Quite the point for her. Finally a misplay here by Resurrection. We'll see if they can get it over, and they can. So they're keeping the point alive here. Copenhagen, and an excellent save there by Washkovich. Everyone playing good here, and finishing the point is the star Maggie Ward. Deflected off a double block attempt there from Lane Tech. And the exciting long point goes to the Bandits, who go up 13-10 here. Soft serve almost catches Lane Tech off guard. Lane's had the most success when they just go with the straight kills here, as this one another blocking error here off the arms of Copenhagen and Crane. And we're going to see a timeout called by the champion. So 14-10, Resurrection showing some excellent signs of momentum here as they take a 4-point lead in set number 3. Seems like Lane Tech has all the momentum when they have just clear kill attempts from the outside, either from Crane or Anderson. Even players like Copenhagen have had some strong nights in that sense. But when it's just a back and forth games, teams bumping it back and forth, creating uncomfortable shots, that is where the advantage has been all towards Resurrection here in set number 3. And lucky for the Bandits, it's been more plays like that than it has been plays like what we talked about have been the strengths for Lane Tech here in set number 3, and that has led to a 14-10 lead for Resurrection over this Lane Tech squad. 11 points from a big upset victory here for Resurrection. Lane Tech needs 15 points to get win number 16 on the year. As we mentioned, the win here tonight for Lane Tech clinches that they will be over 500 in the regular season. A loss means that tomorrow night's matchup with Lindblom will be the final indicator for Lane Tech of that statistic, as Wild, a diving number 4, Chloe Warnke, who has not played a lot here tonight. Oh, excuse me, no, that was Washkovich who was trying to dive in for the save, but just can't get it. And now we'll see Catherine Hong, Lane's top server, who has been quiet here tonight. Back to serve, and she gets her first ace of the night. off the hands of the libero, Martin. Two-point game here from Lane Gymnasium. We'll see if Hahn can do it again. This one sails a little too far. Lane Tech's fans were ready to celebrate there. Small student section here tonight for Lane Tech. Looks like a couple of football players on the top left-hand side of your screen. They've been excited all night long for Lane Tech, though. They thought that was a point, but ends up going a little too far, and reception from Thompson there goes off the side of the net here as the Res lead back up to 4, 16-12. Booming serve there from Ward. Lane Tech able to receive this one cleanly. Now Dorgan, and off the hands of Sprinkle and Copenhagen there. It's interesting, Lane Tech has not played Brooke Anderson as much as we usually see her tonight. And they have definitely missed some of her blocking presence here on this Monday afternoon, as this one served too far off the hands of Ward. And Lane Tech will keep it within 4, 17-13 now. Lane Tech's reached the time of match here where they just do not have room for error, as we see one there from Crame. Gavilan will check into the game for her, and just like that, 7 points away from victory here for Resurrection. Any more errors from Lane Tech going to be a big problem for them, as the leading server into the game there is Martin, but luckily Lane Tech is able to break up her service rotation very, very quickly. Doesn't get a single point off of her serve there here in set number 3, and now they'll send Copenhagen back to serve. Both Sprinkle and Anderson were there for the kill. Not sure who ended up getting the final touch, but either way, it'll go for a slow-moving kill. And Lane Tech moves within 3 here, 18-15 in set number 3. So Lane slowly inching their way back into this one. Back set, Lane down the serve, and Lane Tech's Catherine Hong able to dig it out. Hong with another reception on the bump over from the Bandits. A two-handed soft touch there from Ward. Both Copenhagen and Gavilan dove at it, and one of them able to dig it up. Front row Meyer. Oh, just an easy touch there. It's interesting. Lane Tech must have more room between their front blockers and the net here tonight than usual, because it's been a couple of points every single set for Lane Tech where the ball just seems to fall flat between the blockers and the net. That's not something we see Lane Tech struggle with usually, but that has been a big struggle here tonight for Lane Tech. As first serve from McGovern goes too far off the hands of the from the senior. And Lane Tech keeping this one within 3. Addison Stoner had a nice service run her last time back to serve. Lane Tech needs another good one, and they won't get it. This one goes too far off the hands of the senior, and Rez now 5 points away from an upset 3-set victory here tonight. As we mentioned, they have not won a game since September 10th. That was in a tournament. Got the win against Maine West. Win before that came all the way back on August 27th as Anderson plays this one off the net. And now the Bandits within 4. Lane Tech is going to call timeouts. And if you look at Rez's schedule, they just have actually not won a game that has not been in a tournament all year long. They have not just won a simple regular season game at all. Their first win came in a tournament they played in Wisconsin. And then their second win came in the Niles West Invitational. So they have not won just a normal regular season night match all season long, but now they are 4 points away to do it, from doing it. 21-16, the current lead. Lane Tech trailing the Resurrection Bandits. Set number 1, 25-15. The Bandits took over Lane Tech. Lane Tech rolled in set number 2 to a 25-13 win, but it's been a little more close, but definitely the momentum towards the Bandits here in set number 3, as it will be Sam Washkovich serving here. She sends this one off the tape. Stoner luckily there for the reception, and Claire Anderson will keep it alive. Lane Tech got lucky there. And a block in the front row there from Wild and Anderson. That's what we've been talking about, that dynamic duo of Campbell Wild and Brooke Anderson, who are number 1 and number 2 on the team in total blocks. That's what Lane Tech needs here late, and they get point number 1 of this comeback. Two-hand play there by Anderson. Meyer had not a lot of room to work with. The set was very close to the net, but somehow she finds a way to push it off the hands of a couple of Lane Tech defenders, and now 3 points away from a win for Resurrection. Some very exciting plays from this Bandits team, who seem to just make anything possible work here tonight. As this one down the line goes a little too far on the first serve attempt there of the service rotation for the Bandits. Looks like that was number 1, Jill Marzalik on the serve. We have not seen a lot out of her here tonight. They put her in for the serve, and no success there. 22-18. Bandits in the lead. Set number 3. Stoner with the back set. Copenhaver, and unsuccessful on the block there in the front row was Ward and Cosmic, and Lane Tech now 2 straight points. They cut it to a 3-point deficit, and we're going to see a timeout called by Resurrection. So just about 3 or 4 points in between timeouts called. First called by head coach Norman Kwong of the Champions, because he did not like the way the momentum is going. Out of the timeout, Lane Tech went to immediately had some momentum, and then on the other side of things, now the head coach Anthony Monk of Resurrection sees all that Lane Tech momentum and decides to call a timeout himself. So we'll see if the Bandits can do the same thing and take the momentum out of the timeout. Sarah Thompson back to serve here. Wearing the libero jersey tonight for Lane Tech in replacement of Heidi Stauber. It's an excellent save there. Anderson plays it from the middle, but there to save it was Martin. Quick punch up the middle. Whistles are blowing, and they give the point to Resurrection. I did not see what they call here. See what the officials say. They might have just given their signal too quickly there. If anything, it looked like a possible net violation on the Bandits. However, now Resurrection moves within 2 points of the win here. Stoner, Copenhaver pretended like she was going to kill, instead just goes with the quick point, and Lane Tech gets their service back almost immediately. And we have a close one here at Lane Gymnasium. 23-20 in the decisive set number 3. Bandits in front of the Champions, but it will be Catherine Hong back to serve. Hasn't had a great night, so we'll see if she can redeem herself here. Thompson. Hong, Crane, and gets the point. Unsuccessful block there on the right side of the net for Resurrection, and now 2 straight points for Lane Tech. We're trying to keep Res from getting that consequential match point. Crane goes with the soft touch, and diving out of nowhere there was Zork to keep it alive. Anderson hits that one with the middle of her arm instead of her hand, and you can see it just goes way too short off that hit. 24-21 match point here for Resurrection, looking for win number 3 of the year. Thompson on the reception. Sprinkle forced to bump it over. Gonna set up a kill attempt to try to win it. Can't get it. Crame again, and keeping it alive there is Martin. A soft hand touch. Sprinkle just able to keep it alive. Now Crame again from the front row. Back and forth play here on the first match point of the night. Crame again punches that, and hitting it to nowhere there was Dorgan. She's unable to finish the point and will keep it alive. Lane Tech gets back their serve, 24-22. Olivia Crame has 2 service errors on the night. She gets this one in cleanly, the most important one, as an excellent block there from Copenhaver and Sprinkle to cut it to a 1-point game. Timeout called by Resurrection, 24-23. The few Lane Tech fans on hand getting loud here, 24-23. So if Lane's able to get the point here, they will force the 2 teams to go to at least 26, have to win by 2 here in volleyball. As Lane's going to not use much of that timeout. It was called by Resurrection. I assumed Lane Tech would take their time with it, but they break about 18 seconds into the 1-minute timeout, and Resurrection too, they're only going to use 30 seconds of the timeout. I'm not sure what at this point in the game there much is to say other than try not to mess up. 1 or 2 small errors could be the difference in this one. So Lane Tech still has to win this point to force the tiebreaker. Martin digs out the serve from Crame. Sprinkle once again saves it. Anderson thought she saw an opening there but can't get it. Crame digs it out. Anderson now. Miscommunication there by the Bandits. They keep it alive. Hong, back serve. Copenhaver, front row, and gets to the right side of the nets. Resurrection unable to save the point, and Lane Tech will tie this one up 24-24. We're playing the 26 here in set number 3 from Lane Gymnasium. Olivia Crame again. And a misdirection shot there from McKenna Zork will give another match point here to Resurrection. Lane shaved off a lot of match points there at the couple of minutes ago, as we'll see Martin serve. She had some very good serving here today. Anderson blocked in the front. Hong back serve. Sprinkle had an awkward bump over, but it's able to finish it. Dorgan. Hong plays it back to Anderson. Anderson sees an opening there, but a nice block there off the hands of 2 Resurrection players. Point still playing, and the win goes to Resurrection. Olivia Sprinkle and Catherine Hong unable to finish that one there. And a 26-24 upset win for the Bandits, who get just their 3rd win of the season in 23 tries. They get their first win since September 10th. And quite the disappointing result here for Lane Tech, who dropped their 3rd of their last 4. And it's definitely going to hurt them here as they head into state playoff seeding. Lane Tech will have one more chance at it in the regular season tomorrow night when they take on Lindblom, starting at 6 p.m. on the road to close out the regular season. We'll be back on the call next Monday as Lane Tech opens up city playoff play against an undisclosed opponent. TBD, should be a 6 p.m. first serve. Back in action for Resurrection, they will be on Wednesday as they take on DePaul at home at 6 p.m. And that's just about all the time we have here tonight. Some very impressive performances from players such as the libero Riley Martin, Mia Meyer, the middle hitter Maggie Ward. 3 names to definitely watch for this Resurrection team as they get their 3rd win of the season over Lane Tech, whose errors just once again haunt them. That's just about all the time we have here tonight. Your final score from Lane Gymnasium: Resurrection 2, Lane Tech 1. My name's Alex Burstein. Good night.